The first rock hit the window of Jack Harlan's house at exactly 7:42 p.m. on December 22nd. It wasn't large, just big enough to crack the glass and send a spiderweb of fractures across the pane. Jack, still wearing the red flannel he used for the town's annual tree lighting rehearsal, froze mid-step in his living room. He knew what it meant before he even looked outside. Willow Creek, population 4,812, had always been small enough for secrets to feel like public property. Tonight, his had finally escaped. He had been Jack Harlan, the town's Santa Claus for 23 consecutive years. Children sat on his lap, whispered wishes, tugged his real white beard. Parents thanked him with cookies and hot cocoa. The Rotary Club gave him a plaque once that read Heart of Willow Creek. Then someone saw him kiss Michael at the county fair parking lot 3 towns over. A quick photo on a phone, a text chain that spread like wildfire, and suddenly the man who had handed out candy canes for decades was that gay Santa. Jack didn't cry when the first rock came. He stood there, staring at the broken window, feeling the cold air sneak in like an unwelcome guest. Michael, his partner of 8 years, appeared in the doorway, phone already in hand, ready to call the sheriff. Jack shook his head. Don't. It'll only make it worse. The next morning, the local Facebook group exploded. We can't have him at the Christmas parade. Think of the children. He's been lying to us all this time. Jack scrolled through the comments while drinking coffee that tasted like ash. Michael sat beside him, silent, hand resting on Jack's knee. They had talked about this day for years, how it might come, how it would feel. Neither of them expected it to hurt quite this much. By noon, the Rotary Club president called. Jack, we've decided to go in a different direction this year. No apology. No explanation beyond the board feels it's best. Jack thanked him politely and hung up. Then he walked to the garage, pulled the Santa suit from its plastic storage bag, and stared at the red velvet like it belonged to someone else. Across town, 12-year-old Ethan Whitaker sat on his bedroom floor, knees drawn to his chest, staring at the same Facebook thread. Ethan had been going to see Santa every year since he could walk. Jack always remembered his name, always asked about his dog Rusty, even though Rusty had died 2 winters ago. Ethan's dad, Pastor Daniel Whitaker, had posted the original photo with the caption, "Truth matters more than tradition." Ethan didn't understand why truth had to mean taking Santa away. That evening, Ethan slipped out after dinner. The streets were quiet, Christmas lights blinking in every window except Jack's. He walked the 3 blocks to Jack's house, heart hammering. He had never been there alone before. When he reached the porch, he hesitated, then knocked softly. Jack opened the door, surprised. "Ethan? It's late, kiddo. I need to talk to you," Ethan said, voice small but steady. "About Christmas." Jack stepped aside. Inside, the house smelled like pine and coffee. Michael was in the kitchen, pretending not to listen. Ethan sat on the couch, clutching his coat. "They're saying you can't be Santa anymore because you love a man." Jack exhaled slowly. "Yeah, that's what they're saying." "But you've always been Santa," Ethan said. "You're the only one who knows I want a telescope this year. Not because I told you. You just knew." Jack smiled, tired. "I pay attention." Ethan looked at his shoes. "My dad says it's a sin. But you don't seem like a sinner. You seem like you." Jack didn't know what to say. He had spent years preparing for judgment from adults. He never expected it from a child. "Will you still come to the parade?" Ethan asked. "Even if they don't want you?" Jack glanced toward the garage where the suit waited. "I don't think I'm invited anymore." Ethan stood up. "Then I'll make them invite you." Before Jack could respond, Ethan was out the door, disappearing into the snowy night. The next day, Willow Creek woke to flyers taped to every telephone pole and store window on Main Street. Simple white paper, black marker handwriting. "Santa belongs to everyone. Let Jack Harlan be Santa. Ethan Whitaker, age 12. Pastor Daniel found the first one on his own church door. He tore it down, cheeks burning. By lunchtime, more had appeared. The hardware store owner left his up. The librarian added a smiley face. The sheriff's deputy photographed them all but didn't take them down. At school, Ethan became a celebrity and a target at the same time. Half the kids whispered, "Hero." The other half called him fag lover. His best friend Caleb stuck by him, but even Caleb looked nervous. During lunch, Ethan sat alone until a 7th grader named Mia slid onto the bench across from him. "You're really doing this for Santa?" she asked. "Yeah," Ethan said. "He's nice." Mia nodded. "My moms say the same thing. People just get scared when they don't understand." Ethan blinked. He had never met Mia's moms before. Suddenly the world felt bigger and smaller at once. That afternoon, Pastor Daniel called Ethan into his office at the church. The room smelled like old books and lemon polish. Daniel sat behind his desk, hands folded. "You're embarrassing the family," he said quietly. Ethan swallowed. "I'm not trying to. I just want Jack to be Santa." "Some things aren't that simple, son." "But they should be," Ethan said. "He's the same person he was last year." Daniel rubbed his temples. "You're too young to understand." "I'm old enough to know right from wrong," Ethan answered. The words hung between them. Daniel looked at his son as if seeing him for the first time. Then he stood up and walked to the window. Outside, snow was falling again. That evening, the town council held an emergency meeting. The chamber was packed. People stood along the walls. Jack and Michael sat in the back row, hands clasped under the table. Ethan sat in the front with Caleb and Mia. The mayor called the meeting to order. "We're here to discuss the Santa position for the Christmas parade." Voices erupted. Some shouted for Jack's removal. Others shouted for fairness. The mayor banged the gavel. Pastor Daniel stood up. "I move that we replace Mr. Harlan with a new Santa." Seconded immediately. Then Ethan raised his hand. The room went quiet. 12 years old, in a room full of adults, he looked tiny and enormous at the same time. The mayor sighed. "Ethan, this isn't the time." "I have something to say," Ethan said. His voice cracked once, then steadied. "Jack Harlan has been Santa since before I was born. He never lied to us. He just didn't tell us everything. But he never pretended to be someone he isn't. He's kind. He listens. He remembers things. That's what Santa does. If we take that away because of who he loves, then what are we teaching kids?" Silence. Thick, uncomfortable silence. Then someone in the back yelled, "He's a child. He doesn't know what he's talking about." Ethan turned toward the voice. "I know more than you think." Jack watched from the back, eyes shining. Michael squeezed his hand so hard it hurt. The vote was close, 7-6. Jack Harlan would remain Santa. But the victory felt fragile, like ice on a warm day. Christmas Eve arrived with a storm warning. The parade was scheduled for 6 o'clock. By 5:30, the wind was howling, snow whipping sideways. Most people stayed home. Only the stubborn and the hopeful lined the streets. Jack sat in the fire truck cab, full Santa suit, beard freshly trimmed. Michael rode shotgun, dressed as an elf. Neither spoke much. The radio crackled with updates. Power flickering downtown, roads icing over. At the staging area, Ethan waited in his snow boots and parka, holding a sign he had made that morning, "Santa for all." His father stood beside him, arms crossed, face unreadable. When the fire truck pulled up, Ethan ran to the side. Jack leaned down. "You came," Ethan said. "Couldn't let you down," Jack replied. The parade started. Only 3 floats this year. The fire truck, a pickup with Christmas lights, and the high school band playing carols off-key in the wind. People clapped politely. Some stared. Some turned away. Halfway down Main Street, a group of protesters stood on the sidewalk holding signs. "Traditional values only." One man shouted, "Go back to the city, queer." Jack kept waving. Children still ran up for candy canes. Parents hesitated, then let them. Ethan walked alongside the truck the whole way, sign held high. His cheeks were red from cold and determination. At the town square, the tree lighting ceremony waited. The mayor stood on the platform, microphone in hand. When the truck stopped, he looked at Jack, then at the sparse crowd. "Before we light the tree," the mayor said, "I think we should hear from someone who's been pretty vocal this week." He gestured to Ethan. Ethan climbed the steps, boots leaving wet prints. He looked out at the faces, some friendly, some angry, some confused. "I'm not good at speeches," he began. "But I know this. Santa isn't about being perfect. He's about showing up. Jack shows up. Every year. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard." Someone in the crowd sniffled. "My dad told me love is supposed to be unconditional," Ethan continued. "But I guess that only counts if it looks the way we want it to." He looked straight at his father. Pastor Daniel stood motionless. Then slowly he walked up the steps. The crowd held its breath. Daniel put a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "I was wrong," he said into the microphone. His voice shook. "I thought protecting tradition meant protecting people. I was wrong." He turned to Jack. "Jack Harlan, you've been Santa longer than most of us have been alive. We'd be honored if you'd light the tree." Jack climbed down from the truck. The wind tore at his beard. He walked to the platform, took the switch from the mayor, and flipped it. The tree blazed to life, thousands of white lights against the dark sky. For a moment, no one moved. Then Ethan started clapping. Caleb joined. Mia. Then Michael. Then the librarian. Then the hardware store owner. Slowly, like a wave, the crowd joined in. Jack looked at the faces lit by the glow. Some still looked uncertain, but many were smiling. He caught Pastor Daniel's eye. Daniel nodded once, small but real. Christmas morning dawned quiet. Power had gone out overnight, but the snow had stopped. Jack and Michael woke early, made coffee on the camp stove, and sat by the window watching the world turn white. The doorbell rang at 9. Jack opened it to find Ethan, Pastor Daniel, and a plate of homemade cinnamon rolls. "Merry Christmas," Daniel said. Jack stepped aside. They came in, stamping snow off their boots. Ethan hugged Jack hard. "You were the best Santa ever." Jack laughed. "You were the best helper." Daniel cleared his throat. "I owe you an apology. A real one." Jack shook his head. "You don't. You showed up. That's enough." They sat at the kitchen table. Daniel told them about the late-night conversation he'd had with his congregation elders. Some left angry. Others stayed to listen. He admitted he had spent years preaching about love while practicing fear. "I'm learning," he said. "I'm not there yet, but I'm trying." Michael reached across the table. "That's all anyone can ask." Later that afternoon, Jack and Michael walked downtown. The square was empty except for a few kids sledding. The tree still glowed, powered by a generator someone had hooked up. An older woman approached, Mrs. Abernathy, who had run the bakery for 40 years. "Jack," she said, "I posted some ugly things online. I'm sorry." Jack nodded. "Thank you." She looked at Michael. "You're welcome here. Both of you. It wasn't everything. It wasn't perfect. But it was a start." January came. Snow melted. Life returned to normal, but not quite the same. The Rotary Club invited Jack back for next year. No vote needed. Ethan started a petition at school for an official "All Are Welcome" banner to hang in the town square. Passed with 73 signatures. Pastor Daniel began a new sermon series, Love Without Limits. Attendance was mixed, but he kept going. Jack and Michael started hosting Sunday dinners for anyone who wanted to come. Sometimes only 3 people showed up. Sometimes 12. They never turned anyone away. Ethan grew an inch over the winter. He still visited Jack every week, talking about school, telescopes, and the new dog his dad let him get. A golden retriever named Comet. One evening in March, as the sun set behind the hills, Ethan sat on Jack's porch swing. "Do you think the town will ever forget?" he asked. Jack thought about it. "I don't think they should forget. Forgetting means we might do it again. Remembering means we choose better next time." Ethan nodded slowly. Jack looked at the boy who had changed everything with nothing more than courage and a handmade sign. "Ethan," he said, "you didn't just save Christmas. You saved me." Ethan smiled. You saved me first. Every year, they sat in comfortable silence, watching the sky turn pink. The town of Willow Creek would always carry the scar of that December. But scars can teach. And sometimes, if people are brave enough, they can heal. Was it right for a 12-year-old boy to stand against his entire town and his own father in defense of a man he barely knew? True or false?